News Services Division of All India Radio presents Northeast Diary. Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Northeast Diary. Here we bring you the latest developments from India's unexplored Northeast region. Today, we bring to you an interview with Startup 20 Chair Dr. Chintan Vaishnav. We will also go over to Manipur, which celebrated Khongjom Day recently. Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Kumar Mishra was in Sikkim this week to take stock of various central government schemes. He held meetings in Gangtok and Namchi to review the progress. A report.
At a meeting at the Tashling Secretariat in Gangtok, Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Kumar Mishra was apprised of the status of centrally sponsored schemes, including Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises Scheme, Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat Mission, Cyber Crime Prevention Against Women and Children, National Health Mission, Border Area Development Program, Vibrant Village Program, Samagra Shiksha Mission and Poshan Abhiyan. Mr. Mishra appreciated the progress of these schemes and the role of Anganwadi workers and health workers and urged health officials to focus on rural areas. Addressing another meeting in Namchi, the minister spoke about Sikkim's potential in tourism and education and lauded the state's initiatives in organic farming. He highlighted various initiatives of the central government aimed at elevating the standard of living, such as the Vibrant Village Program and skill development programs to improve employability. An overview of various central government schemes in Namchi was presented to the minister during the meeting. Mr. Mishra also visited an ICTS center at Lower Gurpise and Health and Wellness Center at Boomtar. With Dilram Dulal, this is Saikat Sarkar for AIN News, Sikkim.
The Medical Assessment and Rating Board of the National Medical Commission has given the letter of permission for 100 MBBS seats to start the new medical college for Nagaland Institute of Medical Sciences and Research Priya Bhagi, Kohima, under Nagaland University, Kohima, for the academic year 2023-2024. Our Kohima correspondent has filed the details.
60 years after becoming a state, Nagaland will get its first medical college this year. Nagaland Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, NIMSAR, Priyabhagi, Kohima has received a letter of permission from Medical Assessment and Rating Board, MARB, of National Medical Council, NMC, on 24th April 2023. The medical college will begin its journey with 100 MBBS students from the academic session 2023-24. The letter of permission issued by the MARB of the National Medical Council stated that the present proposal has been approved on the basis of physical compliance verification assessment report and also keeping in view the undertaking given by the Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Nagaland. All the deficiencies as pointed out by the MARB will be rectified by 31st May 2023. The MARB directed that the Dean of the institution would be fully responsible to fulfill and maintain norms, including the infrastructure, both physical and human resources, teaching faculty and clinical material, etc., throughout the academic year as stipulated in regulation of National Medical Council. The academic session will start by June or July this year. Of the 100 seats, 5 would be for students of Nagaland, while the remaining 15 will be reserved for aspirants from other states. For Northeast Diary, this is Asunyo from AIR News, Kohima.
In a recent visit to this northeastern state, U.S. Consul General Melinda Pavek met with the Governor of Mizoram, State Chief Secretary and the Health Minister. The U.S. Consul General discussed scores of issues related to the state and the new efforts of collaborations for the development of the state. For a more detailed report, let's go over to our correspondent from Aizawl.
In a two-day visit to Mizoram last week, the U.S. Consul General Melinda Pavek held several meetings separately with the Dr. Haribabu Kambhampati, Health Minister Dr. R. Lal Thangliana and the top officials. In the meeting with the U.S. official, the health minister highlighted the strategic location of the state bordering Myanmar and Bangladesh. He asserted on scopes of foreign investment in the state. Health Minister Dr. Lalthang Liana also expressed for closer cooperation with the U.S. consulate, and he urged to facilitate exchange programs for students and faculties and provide U.S. scholarship for students of the state. The minister also called for better cooperation to eradicate the prevalence of HIV/AIDS, cancer, malaria and tuberculosis from the state. Having agreed with the issues, the Consul General Mrs. Pavik laid stress upon the need for identifying, understanding and combating together the problems of the state like HIV/AIDS, cancer, etc. Mrs. Pavik said apart from land and air connectivity, two-man mobility and visa issuance, collaborative efforts can be undertaken. She highlighted the prospective collaborations in innovation and entrepreneurship, solid waste management, cyber security, etc. Also, people-to-people, government-to-government and multilateral collaboration can also be undertaken. On the other hand, Chief Secretary Renu Sharma had a separate meeting with the Consul General wherein she highlighted the potential areas of collaboration in the fields of connectivity, tourism, food processing, healthcare, business sector, bamboo development and entrepreneurship. She expressed that collaboration in such sectors could improve the livelihood of the people of the state. The U.S. Consul General also had an interaction with the students and research scholars of Mizoram University. She highlighted bilateral ties between India and the United States and how to get a U.S. visa. Mrs. Pavik also appealed to the students and faculties to pursue their education and research in the U.S. She advocated both students and researchers to avail the help of U.S.-India Education Foundation, Education USA Team, Fulbright scholarships and online access of American libraries. She said the collaborations between the students of India and the U.S. is one of the government's priorities. For Northeast Diary, this is Irene from Aizawl.
In a bid to minimize the incidence of cancer, the state government has launched the first Cancer Care project as part of the Meghalaya Mission Cancer Prevention and Early Detection. A report.
The use of tobacco, which is the major cause of cancer-related cases in the state. The Health Department believes that this new initiative will show some positive results in the next 10 to 15 years. This is Lamfrang Nungspung for AIR News Shillong.
Because Meghalaya has East Khasi Hills has the highest incidence of tobacco-related cancer. That's why East Khasi Hills we are targeting separately, so that it's a bigger impact and bigger outreach. So we have outsourced it to Apollo Hospital, Apollo Medicine and Networking Foundation. So foundation is carrying out this FCC project in East Khasi Hills.
The sweltering heat has taken major parts of India under its grip, and Tripura, a state in the northeast part of the country, is no exception to it. Concerned over the health of the students due to scorching heat, the state government had taken a call to close the schools from April 18th to 23. The rise in temperature has also increased the demand of electricity supply as more and more air conditioners and fans are being operated. Our Agartala correspondent brings you this report.
So how is the Tripura state?
Basically, what I told you, for every state DESCOM, there was a obligation of renewable energy should be a part of a total mix. As of now, our renewable energy contribution is very less compared to the other state DESCOM. We have recently signed one agreement with Solar Energy Corporation of India to draw renewable energy. The solar power will be generated in a different location. We will draw power, 100 megawatt power at a definite rate. Second action we have taken to have a renewable energy, solar energy at our own state Basic constant in this is a land. For have a land related solar energy, there is a huge space is required, which is presently not available in Tripura. So we have gone for a floating solar.
And what is the budget?
Budget that we assess, that will be done very soon.
But the green hydrogen is at the same time very expensive also.
Still it is a cost prohibitive, but it is coming down. 5 years back, the costing is around 13 rupees.
Right.
Now it has come down to 3 rupees.
Under the smart city project, you are also planning to have underground electric cables.
We are planning for a complete underground network of Agartala city. And we have already achieved extra high voltage and high voltage 50% of the line was converted to underground. And now ultimate our target is to have a complete underground HT, LT, HT, every voltage level. There should not be any overhead network for the Agartala town itself actually. So we are working on it because we have two central government projects is going on. One is Asian Development Bank project, another is Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme, and some state government funded project is also there. So through this project we are planning for a undergrounding of the Agartala city initially, and if it is successful then we will go for a further district headquarters like Vishalgarh, like Udaipur, like Dharmanagar in a later stage. But at least for the district headquarters there should not be any overhead network, because underground network is ultimately supply reliability and quality of supply will improve.
So has the work started on this?
Yes, yes.
And can you name the places where, because we can just take the shots if the work is started?
Work has already, I can give you number of locations.
This year, the month of April has been one of the hottest across the country. In Tripura too, there was excessive demand for power supply due to soaring temperatures. Talking to AIR, Managing Director of Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited, Mr. Debashish Sarkar said that last week when the state was reeling under heat wave conditions, the demand for power rose to 344 megawatts, which was much more than the one felt during the Durga Puja last year. He urged people to stop indiscriminate use of air conditioners as it puts cumulative load on transformers. At present, the power generated by the Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited is 85 megawatts. The state borrows 100 megawatts from NIPCO and 100 more megawatts from OTPC, that is ONGC Tripura Power Corporation. In order to address the growing power demand, the state DISCOM, by adhering to the obligation of generating renewable energy, has been taking necessary steps. Noting that the renewable energy capacity level of Tripura is less, the Tripura State DISCOM has signed an agreement with the Solar Energy Corporation of India to draw more renewable energy. Through this, 100 megawatt power will be drawn by the state by 2024. Kunal Shinde for Northeast Diary from Agartala.
India's freedom movement against the British was witness to an overwhelming participation of people throughout the country. The British conquered our country by defeating small princely states one by one, taking the disunity in India that time. Many princely states fought valiantly to safeguard the independent status, and many freedom fighters sacrificed their life in the battle. Such is the Khongjom battle, in which Manipuri soldiers fought against the mighty British in April 1891. Every year, April 23rd is observed as the Khongjom Day in Manipur in the memory of those freedom fighters who laid their lives for the motherland. Let's hear more from our Imphal correspondent JJ Thokcham.
The battle took place at Khongjom in Thoubal district of Manipur and marked the beginning of colonial rule in the region. Remembering those heroes, Manipur observed Khongjom Day on April 23rd every year. Manipur's Chief Minister N. Biren Singh and Governor Susri Anusuya Uike led the observation held on Sunday at Khongjom War Memorial Complex at Kheba Singh in Khongjom. 2 minutes of silence was observed and gun salute was given for those martyrs. While addressing the public, Governor Susri Anusuya Uike said that the Khongjom War is the most important event in the history of Manipur, and we need to remember that foreign powers become active only when there are internal conflicts. She said,
मणिपुरी नायकों को याद करते हुए
उन देशभक्तों को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करने का दिन है जिन्होंने 1891 में अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ लड़ते हुए अपने प्राणों का बलिदान कर दिया था। इस दिवस को मनाते समय हमें यह याद रखने की आवश्यकता है कि विदेशी शक्तियों तभी सक्रिय होती है जबकि देश प्रदेश में आपसी कलह होती है। खोंगजोम युद्ध मणिपुर के इतिहास की सबसे महत्वपूर्ण घटना है। इतिहासकारों ने इस युद्ध को भारत के स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के इतिहास में सबसे महत्वपूर्ण युद्ध के रूप में नोट किया है।
Moreover, supreme sacrifice made by our heroes continue to inspire us. Jeje Thopsom, AIR News, Northeast Diary, Imphal.
In a Personality of the Week section, we bring to you an interview with Startup 20 Chair, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, on Startup 20, its objectives and the Indian startup ecosystem. The interview has been conducted by Usha Sharma.
Under India's G20 presidency, the Startup 20 Engagement Group has moved to Sikkim to explore, engage and include new startup ecosystems. The Startup 20 Sikkim Sabha, organized in Gangtok on 18th and 19th March, is expected to open new dimensions and opportunities for the continuously evolving Indian startup ecosystem. Today in this interview with All India Radio News, we have the Chair of Startup 20 and Director, Atal Innovation Mission, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav. Welcome, Dr. Vaishnav.
Thank you very much.
What is the concept of Startup 20, G20's youngest engagement group, and what are its objectives? How will it contribute to India's phenomenal startup growth story?
Startup 20 is the only new engagement group under India's G20 presidency this year. The objective of this group is to provide recommendations to the world leaders on how the startup ecosystems of the global 20 nations can work together and support startups. This group came about through India's proposal that we should add a startup-related group to the G20 architecture. And other global 20 nations agreed to this proposal to form this group.
How will it contribute to India's phenomenal startup growth story?
So India's growth story indeed is phenomenal. Today we are known as the third largest startup ecosystem of the world, with over 93,000 registered startups, 107 unicorns, companies that have valuation of $1 billion or more. There has been $40 billion of private investment into the startup ecosystem last year. And we have built a significant infrastructure for startups to be supported in our nation. That being said, there is still the need where startups that take on very difficult challenges and require high amount of investments are still often not able to find that investment in India because the investor appetite for such startups is growing slowly. And so many of them end up going abroad. This is not only the India story. This is happening to other startup ecosystems around the world. And there is an opportunity for all of us to learn from each other's best practices so that we can support startups better and they don't have to use the term of startup ecosystem hustle so much and run around to be supported for wonderful ideas that they are producing.
What are the new non-traditional platforms offered at Startup 20 events to engage young startup founders?
Typically, engagement groups of G20 comprise of stakeholders who are experts who come together, deliberate upon topics, and produce a policy recommendation or what is called the communique. Startup 20 also will be doing that, but there is a very clear recognition in the Startup 20 engagement group that if we stayed limited to only expert opinions, we would have missed the real action on the ground, where people come up with new ideas, they form startups, they get investments, policymakers make policies to make the startup landscape better. All of these plethora of activities. They take place on the ground. And to harness or to give voice to that bottom-up energy of the startup ecosystem, we have created a platform called Startup 20X. This platform allows anybody in the ecosystem to co-brand their event with Startup 20X, advertise it on the global stage, and also put their content on the Startup 20X's global stage. The idea here is that ecosystems which even in their normal course of activities are celebrating many wonderful achievements of startups, we should be able to put all of that on the global stage to first hear from them as to what they want in terms of how they want to be supported, as well as for the world to know that such things go on. So that's one platform. Another platform which we just launched in the Sikkim Sabha today is the Startup 20 Fellows Program. There are many young scholars and practitioners who are eager to engage in the process of global startup policy making. This platform allows them to become those interns, junior fellows, senior fellows, to work with very experienced industry and startup leaders, work alongside these leaders to research and operate in global startup ecosystems.
Moving on, how is the engagement group's agenda being taken forward through the Startup 20 Sikkim Sabha?
Our inception meeting was in Hyderabad at the end of January this year. And there we had gone into that meeting with what is called the issue note. Every G20 engagement group has an issue note that they start with. The issue note outlined the objectives and the deliverables of this group as India sees it. In Hyderabad, we got input from all the Indian as well as international delegates. We have taken in that input, synthesized it. Using that input, we have now produced a new version of the new as well as a much richer version of the issue note, which we are now calling the Policy Communique -1 draft. This is what is being discussed in Sikkim.
So we would like to know, what are the challenges in forming up a uniform policy for diverse business ecosystems, and how are they being addressed?
That's a fascinating question. One of the work streams of Startup 20 is foundations. This work stream exists because if you look across the startup ecosystems of the world, there is no uniform definition of a startup, and there is a great diversity in terminology being used. This group is trying to harmonize what we want to define as a startup from the policy perspective. So harmony is one way to go. Maybe the group will decide that no, we want to live with all these different definitions, whatever it is, but that conversation. Today there hasn't been a platform to have that conversation. Startup 20 Engagement Group is a platform to do so. Similarly, in the area of finance, there isn't a policy framework that we have articulated as the world to unlock financing across the ecosystems of various nations. Such financing does occur on more sort of market opportunistic basis, and that is fine. But what we want to be able to do is to systematically unlock the financing. What should be the rules of systematically unlocking the financing so that the startups that are most needed by all parts of the world can be amplified?
Sir, could you please tell us what has been the response to the Startup 20 Sikkim Sabha and what are the prospects?
The response has been, I must say, very heartwarming. Today, as we finished the first day of this Startup Sikkim Sabha, there were 49 international delegates from 15 different nations who joined us. There were 130 Indian delegates who were also there. And they came together, and there are 5 work streams under Startup 20. Foundations, I already mentioned. Alliances, which is trying to say how do we want to form linkages. Finance, inclusion and sustainability. Each of these work streams today discussed in detail what they want their policy paper to look like. That will be the output of the Sikkim Sabha, and that we will take forward into further synthesis towards the communique.
What is your message for startup founders in general and specifically for those in Sikkim where startups have made small beginnings?
Well, startup founders are one of the most valuable contributors of our economy. There are many problems that require innovation, and startups are the ones who are in the best position to innovate rapidly to solve those problems. And these startup founders who are taking personal risk to improve lives of all people are some of the most important people of our nation. Many of them are also going against the grain of pressures to join conventional jobs, pressures to study further, pressures to settle down and have a family, whatever else. But they have a conviction to do something, and they are moving forward with that conviction, which is not a small thing. And so I'd like to acknowledge their contribution, and I'd like to say that we as the nation's ecosystem builders of the innovation ecosystem are here to support you. For Sikkim, I am very impressed by what has happened in Sikkim in the last 3 years. In just over 3 years, there are over 80 unique startups in Sikkim.
80.
Yes, and the flavor of these startups is also very unique to Sikkim, given its natural resources, given its sensibility, given its culture. And so I think you are absolutely right that this is indeed a beginning. But the opportunity, I must say, is really large here, because the conventional economic forces are not as strong here as they may be in bigger cities of India. And so I encourage all, aspiring startup founders, men and women, now and in the future, to stay engaged. Sikkim ecosystem already is well on its way to building much more opportunity, and we have to make progress on this path together.
Thank you, sir. This brings us to the end of an insightful perspective on the Startup 20 engagements under India's G20 presidency. We would like to thank Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Chair of Startup 20 and Director, Atal Innovation Mission, for taking out time for this interview from his busy schedule at the Startup Sikkim Sabha.
By Abhishek Mukhopadhyay, scripted by Suparna Saikya, produced by Sharmila Goswami, and assisted by Kamlesh Mudgal. It was brought to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.